Hello guys, welcome to another SoapUI web service testing tutorial from rcvacademy.com. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about the SoapUI properties and how you can access SoapUI properties using Groovy Script. Now, in the previous tutorial, we have already seen how you can define the custom properties in SoapUI at different levels like global, project, test suite, test case, and test step level, and then how you can utilize those custom properties in your test cases that we designed in the previous tutorial. Now, we have seen the property definition and then property accessing those properties in those test cases manually, and then also the property transfer when you are designing your end-to-end test cases. Now, when it comes to the scripting, SoapUI supports Groovy Scripting, and because of this support, it enhances your ability to design the automated test cases in SoapUI, and it will ease your work a lot in future. And learning Groovy is very easy and it's simple. So whatever is required to automate your test case in SoapUI, I'll be covering that knowledge of Groovy in this tutorial series as well. So as part of this tutorial, we are going to understand the variables log, context, and testRunner, and then how you can access the properties at different levels. For example, global, project, test suite, test case, test step. And then if you want to access the want to get the project name or test step name, how you can do in SoapUI in the Groovy Scripting. So let's get started. I'll go back to the tool. Now here I am in the SoapUI console, and this is the free version of SoapUI. So the version is 5.50. Now I'm in the regression tests suite at the moment. So let me go to this end-to-end test where I have defined the test step property, which has two properties here, A and B. And then similarly, I have the properties defined at different levels as well. So for example, if you go to the global properties, you will see I have defined two properties, A and B, with value global 1 at global level as well. So in order to understand the Groovy Scripting, how you can add Groovy Script in your test cases is it will be a simple step. So if you just right click on any of the test case and click on add step, you will get an option to add the Groovy Script as a step. So it will ask you to provide the name. I'll just leave it as default to Groovy Script. You can change it if you want, and then click OK. So now you will see that the Groovy Script console has opened, right? And the main thing to understand here in Groovy Scripting is as part of the SoapUI is to understand the log, context, and testRunner variables. These are very important to understand, and you will be utilizing these a lot in your automated testing. Now, log is nothing but simple print in any programming language. When you are printing any value on the console, log does the similar thing. So if you just say log.info and just print something, it will, and if you click on run, so this small icon is the run script button, then it will just print whatever value or whatever a string you have mentioned in the double quotes there. So log is nothing but just to print the it's a print command in the SoapUI Groovy script. So the next variable that I want to discuss is the context variable, and to understand the context variable, I'll open this add request that we had created in the last tutorial. So you remember that from the last tutorial that we had defined the context of accessing these custom properties, right? So these are the test case properties that we have defined. So A and B, we have defined two custom properties at the test case level, end-to-end test, and in order to access those custom properties, we had a syntax that we had embedded in the SoapUI request. Now if we go and try to copy this syntax and directly paste into the script, it's not going to work. So in order to access the property, so you'll get an error, right? If I directly try to copy and paste that syntax, it's a syntax error and you won't be able to run it. So in order to access these custom properties through script, you can utilize the context variable. And context variable, the syntax is so context.expand, and just simply put it into the brackets and single quotes and try to run it. Then it will be able to access the value of this particular custom property. So you can see script result is 4 because the value of this custom property was 4, right? If I just want to print it on the console, I'll just say log.info and context.expand, and it will print on the console. So the second value is here printed. Let me clear this log here. So basically that's what the purpose of the context is. So you can access the values that are, or the custom properties, the values of the custom properties. Now one thing to remember with the context is that its scope is only up to the test case. So now for example, you are having a Groovy script in the end-to-end test case. You can use context only within this particular test case. If you want to access any other property, which is for example in the divide test case or in multiply test case, or which goes to some other test suite, for example regression test 1, 2, you won't be able to utilize the context variable to access any of these properties, and that's where testRunner comes in picture. So testRunner variable allows you to access the properties which are not only in that particular test case but are in other test suite or in different test case of this particular tree structure of the project as well. So context, if your Groovy script is in this particular test, you can only access the properties within this step. All right, but if you want to access property which are defined at the like test suite level, or in other test suites of the project, or at the project level, then you need to use the variable testRunner. So let's see how you can utilize testRunner, but before that let's understand how you can access the global variable, because to access the global variable the command is a bit different as compared to other testRunner variables. So to access the global variable, you just type in com.everywhere.soapui and then .soapui .global properties .get property value and whatever global property that has been defined. So I have defined a global property with name A, and I want to access that particular property. So if you just clear this console and run it, so you can see script result global 1 has been printed here, right, in the pop-up information. If you want to just print it, I'll just say log.info and it will print that particular value. So if you go to preferences in the global settings, you see I have the property defined with name A with the value global 1, which is getting printed. So that's how you access the global property using Groovy script. Now the next property that we want to access is the project property. So for example, you want to access the property through Groovy script which are defined at the project level. How you can access those. So if you go to the calculator project and see the custom property, I have defined 3 properties here, A, B, C, with value project 2, and project 3. So in order to access these properties through this Groovy script, you won't be able to do it through the context variable. You have to use testRunner variable. So how you access that? So just testRunner dot. So basically here is your script. So you have to traverse the whole tree up to the project level, right? So the parent of this Groovy script is your test case, right? So if you see, this is below this particular test case. So what you need to do is testRunner dot test case, right? And then where is this particular test case? It's in the test suite. So that test suite is another parent, is the parent for this particular test case. So you go to the test suite and then you go to the project. So you type project and then get property value and whatever property you have defined. So I have defined property with name A and run the script, right? So now you see the script result project -2 has been displayed. And if I go to the calculator project and see the custom property, A has the value project -2, right? So that's pretty easy to access the property at the project level. So simply go to the testRunner variable, and then wherever the script is, you have to traverse to the test case, the test suite, and then the project, and get the property value in the project. So that's how you access the project property. Now coming back to what's the next property? So we have seen the log context testRunner variable, accessing global properties, accessing project properties. Now accessing test suite, test case, and test step properties. So let's come back to the test suite property. Test suite property, right? Okay, so it's sort of same. So testRunner dot test case, and then you go to the test suite. All right, so from this script, if you're going to the test suite, so basically it's coming up to the regression test, right? So when you say test suite and then get property value, and you say the property value defined as A, we'll see if we have, yes, we have some custom property with name A defined already in this regression test. It will print that particular property, right? So test suite 3 has got printed, which is the value of property A. Now if you want to access the property or the test suite property which is not in this particular test suite, so your Groovy script lies in this particular test suite, which is regression test. Now you can access the property of the test suite, which is regression test, which is the direct like the parent of this particular, all these steps here. If you want to access the property which are part of the another regression test suite, then the approach is a bit different. So what you have to do is, let me try to explain how this all works. So basically the structure is the tree structure, the project structure. So that's the project, and then below your project you have your test suites. Okay, so I'll just draw test suite 1 and then test suite 2. Now below these test suites you have the test cases, right? So you could have like multiple test cases in each of these test suites. So I'll say 1, 2 and 3 here, and then below these test cases you have different test steps, and one of the test step is your Groovy script, where you are writing this particular code, right? Now, and the other steps could be your SOAP request, your REST call, or your property transfer, or your properties. So all those are the other test related stuff. Now from this Groovy script, how you are going to access the property which is defined in another test suite, right? So for example, you want to access a property which has been defined in this particular level in this test suite here, right? So you have to traverse, you can't directly, there is no path from here, from this Groovy script to access this property directly, right? So you have to basically define in the script to traverse to the test case, then to the test suite, to the project, and then go back again from the project to the test suite and access the property which is defined from here, right? So that's basically how it all works. And doing that in SoapUI, what you have to do is, so you basically have to define the same, so testRunner variable, and then you go to the test case, that's the parent, and then your test suite, right? And you go to the project. Okay, now from the project, now you are at the root level. Now below this project, below this calculator project, you have different test suites. So these, all the test suites here, regression test, regression test 1, 2 and sanity test, are the child of this particular project. Now you go back to the next regression test 1, 2 from which you want to fetch the property. So the next step is test suite, and provide the name of the test suite from which you want to fetch the property. So the name is regression tests 1, 2, and close the bracket. Now you are in this particular test suite. Now what you need to do is get property value and provide the name of the property that you have defined. All right, and run the. So now you can see, let me check that we have the property defined there. Yes, okay, we have not defined, so we have defined the property AA there, and run it, right? So now you can see that script result, this particular value has been displayed. Let me clear these logs and let me expand or change the font size a little bit so that it's visible for you guys, right? So here you can see that it's a bit clear. Let me move this window a bit and then expand so that you can view the command easily. All right, better. Okay, so that's basically test suite property. So log testRunner.testCase.testSuite.get property value. If you are accessing the test suite property, which is in a different test suite, then the command is testRunner.testCase.testSuite. Then you go to the project root level, then go to the test suite, provide the name of the test suite, and then you get the property value. All right, now the next step is to get the property value of the test case. So we have seen the property value for the global, project, test suite, and if a test suite is in a different level. Now to access the property which is at the test case level, what you need to do is same command, simple, testRunner.testCase.get property value. All right, so what this will do is, this will basically from this script, it will go to this particular test case, and if there are any custom properties defined at the test case level, which we have two properties here, right? So it will display those particular properties. So get property value and just provide the value of the name of the property that has been defined. Okay, and run it. Now you can see 4 has been printed. All right, there is a pop-up message. 4 is the value that has been printed. Now coming back to the test step property. So accessing the test step property is you can utilize the context.expand in order to access the test step property. So that's how you access the test step property. So we have seen that there are different commands to access the global property, project property, test suite property, test case property, and the test step property. So in order to access the test step property, you can simply say context.expand, and then simply the same command that we use, so dollar and the test step name. All right, so here if we see here, so test step properties are defined in the test step property here, and these are the custom properties. So what we'll say is, we'll say test step property and then hash a. All right, and then close bracket. Okay, let me put log.info here. All right, and change it to dot here. All right, so now you can see the test step property hasn't been, let me check. Yeah, so test step 5 has been popped up. Okay, so if I want to print, just change it to log.info, and test step 5 has been printed. So that's how you access the test step property. So to access test step property, you don't need testRunner unless you are accessing the property which is the test step property in a different test suite. If it is a same test suite test step property, then you can just use context.expand. So what we have seen is, we have seen to access, or we have understood how you can access the property at the global level, project level, test suite level, test case level, and test step level. Now similar as we understood for the test suite, what if you want to access a property which is into another test suite, which is into a test case which is part of the another test case. So for example, you want to access a property from this add test case which is part of regression 1-2 test case, right? So the structure will be similar. So testRunner.test case test suite, you go to the project, you go to the test suite. All right, and then from the test suite, what you say is, let me copy that, the whole command here. So from here, what you do is you provide the name of the test case. So test cases, and then from which test case you want to access the property, right? So provide the name, add test case is the test case from which I want to access the property, and then dot get property value. All right, and the name of the property. Okay, and this will display. So there it printed out null here because there are no custom properties here, right? So let me define one. I'll say q with some value here and replace this with q, and now it should print, right? So now it has printed tfg sdf, whatever value I have provided here. Okay, so that's all about the properties. Let's see if we have anything left. Yep, so we need to cover how you can get project name and how you can get test step name as well. Okay, so in order to get the project name, that's pretty simple as well. So you just say testRunner dot test case, so same hierarchy, and then test suite, and then dot project, and dot name. All right, and it will print the project name. So script result calculator, and calculator is the name of our project. So if you scroll up a little bit up, if you want to print the project name, just say log.info and it will print the project name into the console. All right, the last bit remaining is get the test step name. All right, so getting the test step name is similar. So what we'll do is we'll say context dot get current step and then dot get label. That's it. And if you run this, looks like there is some error here. So L is caps. All right, so the test step name is Groovy Script. All right, or the label is Groovy Script. If we change it to something else, let's rename it. Okay, and run again. Now you see Groovy Script, whatever name we have changed. Okay, so that's how you access the name of the test step or test step name. All right, so that's pretty much all about this Groovy tutorial, and we have almost covered all of the key aspects of accessing the properties. So accessing global properties, project properties, test suite properties, test case properties, test step properties, project and test step name. So these are really important to understand and memorize so that you can do your end-to-end automation using Groovy Scripting easily. Thank you.